Welcome to Mondays with Maxwell. My name is Mark Cole. I'm the president and CEO of the John Maxwell Leadership Enterprise. I'm so excited to bring you this new series with John. You know, the funny thing about Mondays is there are many people who dread the first day of the work week. I'm sure that's why TGIF, Thank Goodness It's Friday, is such a popular segment. People look forward to the end of the week more than they do the start of the week. I know you're thinking, of course they do, Mark. Who says, thank God it's Monday? I'll tell you. John Maxwell says it. And you know what? He's not the only one. I believe every one of you watching this right now is just like John. You welcome Mondays because you look forward to starting your week off looking for ways to value people, looking for opportunities to add value to people. And you, my friends, are what Mondays with Maxwell are all about. Glengarry Glen Ross said, coffee is for closers. Well, I say Mondays are for leaders. Mondays with Maxwell are for the difference makers who dare to lead their life, not just accept it. Mondays with Maxwell's is for the value multipliers who grow from me to we, from success to significance. Mondays with Maxwell are for the possibilists, who, while the impossibilists are thanking God for Friday, you are praising God for Mondays. PGFM. Mondays with Maxwell are all for you. And since today is Monday, my friends, let's hear from the man of the hour. He is our leader, our friend, Johna C. Maxwell.
Hi, John Maxwell here. I'm so glad you're with us today on Mondays with Maxwell. I'm very excited about the series that we're doing. It's just called the Best Advice series. And we've just started. In fact, last week I gave you two things that I had learned from other people, advice that I passed on to you. And I think hopefully that was helpful, and that's the reason that you're back. But I want to make sure that we really understand what our purpose is on Mondays with Maxwell. And it's really two major things, one minor thing. But I just want to make sure that we know why we're getting together and have kind of a purpose when we come for these 20 minutes. First of all, I just look forward to the opportunity of weekly adding value to you. The seed of this began a year ago in COVID, when I would do Mondays just trying to help leaders cope with what we were going through. And when I finished that, after a few months, I started to miss my Mondays with you. And I thought, I really think I added value to you. I mean, millions watched, so I think it worked. And all of a sudden, I thought, I'd like to kind of connect again. So Mondays with Maxwell is me just wanting to, more than anything else, add value to you on a weekly basis so that at 12 noon every Monday, Eastern Standard Time, you can say, boy, I got a 20-minute shot with Maxwell, and he's going to give me some advice that's going to help me. The second reason is just to introduce you to something I'm very proud of, and that's the John Maxwell team. It's the best leadership decision I ever made when I said we're going to certify coaches, to help them be coaches, leaders, speakers, really penetrate their community and build their business as entrepreneurs. And every week you're going to have an opportunity to just hear a little bit about the John Maxwell team and maybe meet one of the members. And then thirdly, I just want to come alongside of you and give you what I would call fatherly advice. Well, at 74, maybe it's grandfatherly advice, but here's what I know. A couple of years ago, I just really sensed that I was to be a father and a grandfather to the next couple of generations coming behind me, that I was going to do everything in my power to literally have you kind of maybe stand on my shoulders. And so last week, I shared with you a couple of thoughts from my perspective. And today, I'm going to share with you from a very good friend and a terrific leader, Ed Bastian, who's the CEO of Delta Airlines. I was playing golf with Ed a couple of weeks ago, and I shared with him that I wanted to do Mondays with Maxwell. And so I asked him while we were playing, what's the best advice that you could give leaders? And I kind of positioned it, what's the best advice that you could give leaders at this time? Because one of the things I want Mondays with Maxwell to do, I want them to be really relevant. In fact, I will tell you right now, I will interrupt any series that I'm doing if all of a sudden I think that there's something that I've just heard, learned, discovered that just you need to know. It won't bother me at all to say, time out, we'll get back to our best advice series next week, but this is what I just picked up, or this is what I've just learned, and I want to give it to you. And the reason why is I think in a relationship, the highest priority is always to benefit the person that you're trying to serve. And sometimes something may come up real quickly, and all of a sudden I think, I'd like to talk to my friends about that. So there'll be some interruptions now and then, but by and large, for the next couple of months, maybe 3, I don't know, we're going to talk about advice. And so when I ask Ed, as we're playing golf, and Ed and I both love to play golf, but you have to understand we're better at leadership and advice than we are at golf, which anybody that's really, really good at golf, don't you wonder if they're really leading? I mean, it's kind of like if anybody on my John Maxwell team plays great golf, I want to know if they're doing any work, getting anything done. And by the way, every time I come to you, I'm going to come to you out of the studio of my wonderful friend, Andrew Manzango. Now, Andrew has helped me through COVID with hundreds of virtual lessons for different companies around the world. And he's a funny guy. And the other day when we were in the studio doing a whole day of virtual teaching lessons, I told Andrew about my best advice series with you on Money with Maxwell. And he said, well, I've got some advice I'd like to give. And so this morning when I came into the studio, he literally gave me this advice, and it's hysterical. He's so funny. So I think probably every week I'll have, advice from Andrew. And I'll give that to you so you can laugh, and then we'll get down to stuff that will really help you and add value to your life. Here's one that Andrew gave me. He said, my grandpa used to say, always give 100%. He died donating blood. Andrew, that's almost sick, but it's really funny. It's really funny. Okay, and I'm old, so I can get by with that kind of advice from you. You're not that old, though. I know maybe it's not right for you to give it, but I can put it through my world, okay, and give it to them. So I'm talking to Ed Bastian, and I'm saying, okay, Ed, what would you want me to share with the people? And here's what he said. He said, I would like you to share with the people that at times like this, the most important ingredient in a leader's life, the most important quality, is humility. And so I'm putting that on my iPhone as we're playing golf. But I'm so glad I hung with him, because he said, the most important quality in a leader's life, I think, at times like this is humility. And then he said, we have all been marked by this time. And I thought how true that is. I think every one of us have become marked in our lives, marked in our leadership by COVID-19. But as we continued the conversation, and what I love is not only the first answer, but then I love the kind of the underpinnings and the surroundings of what that answer is, and contextually grabbing hold of it. He said, and this is powerful, when you are a person of humility, when you're marked by COVID-19, when you're marked by anything, he said, you become marked in a meaningful way. And I don't want you to miss those 2 words, meaningful way. The moment Ed said to that on the golf course, I'm telling you right now, Ed, keep on shooting. It's okay. I've got to start putting stuff on my iPhone. And so I started pulling it out. And the context of our conversation was pretty much like this. We're all marked when difficulties hit us. When adversity comes, we're all marked. We're all changed. We're all out of our comfort zone. So the question is not, are you going to be marked? The question is, are you going to be marked in a meaningful way? Meaningful means useful. Are we going to be marked in a useful, a good way? Meaningful way. And then Ed said, John, if you have humility, you'll get the best out of the markings. It'll be something that will be purposeful to you. It'll be something that will be helpful to you. It is something that will grow you. If you have humility, you'll be marked in a meaningful way. And then he went on and said, pretty much, if you lack humility, you'll be marked, but it won't be purposeful. It reminded me of the statement that when adversity comes to us, some people get better and some people get bitter. Same adversity, same issue, just a total different reaction. And what Ed was saying is humility gives us the opportunity to respond in a useful way. What does that mean? I think of Jim Collins when he wrote the book Good to Great. Remember he talked about that level 5 executive? And he began to talk about greatness, and we all know this, but he said greatness, says there's a paradoxical blend about level 5 leaders, and they have a personal humility in their life, and then they have a professional will. And he was basically saying that all of the great leaders, they have a professional will to build a great company and be people of excellence and do the thing that they are purposefully trying to accomplish to help people. He said they're very professional in their will, but they're very humble in their personal life. And he was saying it's the perfect blend. It's what I call, I like this, the balance blend. It just keeps us on course. And so the rest of the golf game, Ed and I had conversation about humility in a meaningful way. Here are the thoughts. First of all, humility allows us to be teachable. Humility allows us to have a spirit of wanting to learn, wanting to grow, willing to change. I read a marriage therapist, and what she wrote was very interesting. She said the most important quality when you look for a potential mate, she said the most important quality is to find somebody that has a desire to keep learning and growing throughout the relationship. Well, when I saw that, I thought that's not only good marriage counseling, that's good business counseling. That's good friendship counseling. I mean, you want to have a relationship with someone that they're continually learning, they're continually growing, they're expanding. We want people on our team to be talented. Got to have talent. Nothing wrong with talent. I mean, think about it for a moment. I wrote a book one time called Talent is Never Enough. It's now been retitled Beyond Talent, but in the book, Talent is Never Enough, I wrote that book, and it's basically about making good choices that will add value to your talent. And I've always thought I ought to write another book following Talent is Never Enough and call this book, Talent is Never Enough, but it would be good to have some. and so when you think of talent, if you're a track coach and you need a high jumper, you don't need 7 people who can jump 1 foot. You need 1 person who can jump 7 feet. So talent, we got to have it. But what Ed was saying is you want to put alongside of talent, teachableness. And my observation is that too many leaders, they rely on their giftedness to take priority over their growth. So if you have talent but you aren't teachable, you'll have a fast start because talent always gives you the jump, always. But you'll have a fast start, but you'll have a weak finish because you didn't sustain that talent with continual growth. And if you have talent and you are teachable, you'll not only have a fast start, obviously, but you'll have a strong finish. Ed said something that day that has just stuck with me. He said, I think, John, we have too much bravado in leaders. Too many of them are, instead of being humble and looking at what's happened to us and say, okay, what do I need to learn and how do I need to change and how can I care more and lift people better? He said there's just an awful lot of bravado. I don't know, bravado. I kind of thought of the old Tarzan movies, that kind of stuff. Well, I don't think Ed probably meant it quite that way, but we know what he meant. We know what he meant. Too much narcissism, too much bragging, too much, I'm great. When a crisis hits us, the first thing it ought to allow us to understand is that there's a whole bunch of stuff bigger than us. And the first thing we need to do is not put on false courage. The first thing we need to do is just be teachable. So I wrote in my notes, difficult times increase in value when we learn from them. They just do. And humility makes us teachable. Secondly, humility allows us to reflect, and it allows us to adjust during the pause. Ed talked about the pause. He said, John, everything kind of went on hold. Everything went on pause. And he said, it's going to be interesting to see if leaders took advantage of the pause and learned from it, or if they didn't. And so I put down, after talking with him, I put down things like this. Let's think about reflecting and adjusting during the pause. Humility is comfortable with correction. Humility is willing to reconsider. Humility seeks learning as much as it wants to lead. Humility values the pause to make adjustments and pivot. That's a word we've heard a lot about. In fact, I began then to go inside myself. And one of my hopes for you on Mondays with Maxwell, one of my hopes for you is that every time I just share things from my heart with you, that you'll pull away after Monday with Maxwell and have a little time with yourself and just go through the little thoughts I've given you and then take something out. And when he said that so many leaders didn't take advantage of the pause, I paused. I pulled away that afternoon after our golf game, and I said, okay. In the pause, what did I consider? What did I reflect on? And here's what I considered. Here's what I reflected on. During the pause, I'm going to live my values. During the pause, I'm going to learn and apply what I'm learning. During the pause, I'm going to lead people with hope. Okay, during the pause, I'm a leader. I'm going to look for opportunity because almost every crisis has major, ridiculous opportunities within it. And during the pause, I'm going to take better care of myself. When Ed Bastian said, we need to take advantage of the pause, I thought there have been two responses during this time of the pause. One is not helpful at all. A whole bunch of people are cursing the darkness. Can I tell you something? When you're done cursing the darkness, it's still dark. My name's John. I'm your friend. There is nothing good that happens in cursing the darkness. But there's another thing we can do. It's a choice. We can turn on the light. The moment the light comes on, everybody understands and everybody benefits. So when out of our conversation with Ed, we were talking about humility and how it can help us take adversity and pull out meaningful response to it. I not only say humility allows us to be teachable and humility allows us to reflect and adjust during the pause. I just say to you, humility allows us to serve others. Now, I don't have much more time left with you today. We only have 20 minutes every Monday with Maxwell. But, and besides, this serving others, in a couple weeks, I've got Dan Cathy, CEO of Chick-fil-A, Mr. Servant Leader Extraordinaire. So we'll get back to that a little bit later with Dan. But I'm going to read you one thing, just one quick thing. Alan Ross says, humility means knowing and using your strength for the benefit of others on behalf of a higher purpose. The humble leader is not weak but strong, is not preoccupied with self, but with how best to use his or her strengths for the good of others. A humble leader does not think less of himself, but chooses to consider the needs of others in fulfilling a worthy cause. I love to be in the presence of a humble leader because they bring out the very best in me. Their focus is on my purpose, my contribution, my ability to accomplish all that I've ever set out to accomplish. Well, Dan Cathy was playing golf with Ed and me that day. And here's what Dan said about Ed. He said, I was flying from West Palm Beach to Atlanta. He said, I had been upgraded. I was in first class and I was doing a little bit work. And he said, all of a sudden, Ed Bastian walks by me, goes up to talk to the pilots for a few minutes, and he said, wow, I didn't know Ed was on this plane. And then Ed came back, and when Ed passed me in first class, he stopped. He said, oh, hey, Dan. And he said, we struck up a conversation, and Dan said, I looked at him and I said, Ed, I didn't even know you were on the plane. Where are you seating? Ed said, 19A, CEO of Delta. 19A. Dan said as he walked back to coach with the other fellow travelers, I said to myself, there's a leader that serves the people. So we had a lot of fun the rest of that golf game. I started calling Ed Bastian the 19A leader. I thought, what a compliment. I mean, think about it. 19A leader. What's it mean? Very simple. He's a humble man. He's a person that values people, values the purpose of Delta Airlines. He's a person that really wants to serve others. You see, at the end of that game with Ed and Dan, I said to myself, I think Ed has taken what we've gone through and has brought a meaningful way of living and leading out of it. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. And now, something that's very meaningful to me are my John Maxwell team coaches. And I want you to meet one of our John Maxwell coaches right now. And for the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes, I just want you to listen and observe how, in a meaningful way, their life has been incredibly, beautifully changed. When I started the John Maxwell team, I really wanted to add value to people, people who really want to make a difference, but perhaps if they maybe had the name, or for sure if they had the mentorship and the training that our faculty give them, that we could just take people where they are and lift them to a higher level. Now, I have with me today my friend Yannick, who is a John Maxwell team member, and I shared with him, he has to tell you his story. He was a pharmacist, already had a terrific career, making excellent money, but he really wanted to make a difference in people's lives, so he became a member of the John Maxwell team. And Yannick, I got so excited when you began to share with me all the things you're doing in your business. By the way, you're no longer a pharmacist. I mean, you no longer do pharmacy because you quit that, because you're doing better in the John Maxwell team than you did as a pharmacist. Come on, buddy. Hello, that makes me happy because we want to add value to you just like we have Yannick. Okay, my friend, tell us, what are you doing in your business right now?
Yeah, first thing first, I mean, John Maxwell team is one of the best things that happened to my life. And you talked about calling, John. Says your career is what you're paid for, but your calling is what you're made for. And so this is why this industry is so terrific, because I knew this was my calling. And just like how Jamie was sharing, I was unfulfilled. I was not satisfied. I wasn't having any meaning when I was working as a pharmacist. And I said, this cannot be life. So told my family, they didn't want me to. But I said, I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with my calling. And you talked about it all the time. I'm saying, I'm going to go with what John said. And I believe in myself, and I work the business. And now I'm working with different companies, mortgage. I mean, you know me, training leaders and helping them improve their lives. And it's one of the most, and I'm already, making what I was making as a pharmacist. I quit 2 years ago, full-time now with the John Maxwell team. And the sky is the limit in this business.
This is beautiful. Okay, Yannick, real quickly, you told me did you say you were working with a fire department?
Yeah, I was working with the fire department. I'm currently working with them. I'm working with a mortgage company. I'm working with a school. They have like 3 different charter schools, different companies. I think maybe right now, maybe about 5 companies.
And so you're helping companies succeed and get better as a John Maxwell team certified consultant. And you're working out contracts with them, and you're helping them, and they're helping you. And now let me ask you, are you fulfilled?
Fulfilled is an understatement. I'm fulfilled, and also the financial reward that comes with it. And our our purpose of the John Maxwell team to add value to leaders who multiply value to others. And so that's what this team is doing. It's added tremendous value to me. And so I just want to be able to take that value and pass it on to others. So if you want to have more meaning, satisfaction, joy, and you want to become more valuable than what you are now, so you can add value to people, this is the right environment. I'm telling you, transformation, which is our vision, is what has happened to me. It changed life, changes life, and that's what can happen to you too, if you can get in this organization.
I'm not saying anything after that. He did a great job. That's why you need to be maybe a John Maxwell team member. Thank you.
All right.
So now we see there is good advice and Andrew advice. Let's call that unadvice. I hope you've enjoyed today's Monday with Maxwell lessons. What's some good advice or some unadvice you've received? Let us know in the comments. And what can we say about our John Maxwell team members? Every day, they look for ways to lead in and live out Maxwell leadership principles and philosophies. We're so grateful for the John Maxwell team. Each week, we'll feature a member or mentor from our team who will share their story and their journey with you. Why? Because we want you to see the real stories of difference makers, of value multipliers, and of possibilists. If you want to learn how you too can join John's team of difference makers, go to mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let me say that again. It's Mondays, plural. mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let us know how you saw Mondays with Maxwell and how you want to make a difference. Thank you again for watching today. We'll see you next week for another episode of Mondays with Maxwell.